Hi, my name is Casey Hill, and we're here at the National World War II Museum in New Orleans. The museum was originally opened in 2000 as the National D-Day Museum to honor the connection that New Orleans has to the famous Higgins boats. Those were the LCVPs that you see in Saving Private Ryan, the flat-bottom boats that pull up to the beach and the big gate goes down. Well, a lot of people don't realize that those were invented and manufactured here in New Orleans. So that was our initial connection to D-Day, and our founder, Stephen Ambrose, was also here in New Orleans, so it all just came together perfectly.
And you take the visitor through the preparation for D-Day in a very interesting way. Can you tell me a bit about how you convey both the build-up to D-Day, or the various D-Days, and how you personalize it?
We like to not just tell the big picture story, we also use a lot of small, very personal artifacts throughout the exhibit that really bring the story home to your average everyday person and what their experience was. But when it comes to the build-up to D-Day, it is very complicated. So we actually have an illustration that's just a few minutes long and manages to really summarize the different objectives and everyone that was involved. And we also have a visual that shows all the different kinds of planes and boats, and all that's done in miniature. It's almost like toy planes, So it's just a very simple way to take something that was so massive and bring it down to a scope that people can wrap their heads around.
It seems to, in a way, a bit like a movie in that you're building suspense towards D-Day, so there's this kind of sense of foreboding about the exhibition. Would you say that's...
Well, that's definitely true, but I think, for all the people involved, in a lot of cases, they didn't know where they were going, they didn't know what was going on, they were being loaded onto these boats at, the odd hours of the morning, and there was a lot of suspense, there was nervousness, of course, people thought they were going to die, and we try to, there's no way we could ever recreate that, but we try to recreate some of that build-up. Just, if you take that feeling you've got in the pit of your stomach and multiply it times 1,000,000, then maybe you're getting close to the way that some of them would have felt.
And there's a sort of an immersive movie experience that you have now that adds to that kind of immersive, or the...
Yeah, our newest attraction is the Solomon Victory Theater, and that houses the exclusive film Beyond All Boundaries, which sums up pretty much the entire war in about 45 minutes, as best we could. You get a lot of the battles, you get this idea of the global scope of the war, that it was going on in so many places at the same time, and there's a lot of immersive effects during the Battle of the Bulge. It snows, and you also get that personal touch over there. You get the voices of a lot of these guys that would have been in a trench somewhere, and what were they thinking about. So we really took everything that we initially started with over here in the museum, and we sort of amped it up with all these 4D effects. So it's pretty incredible.
And there are a couple particular elements in the permanent exhibit that interested me. One of them was the fake tanks and trucks and things that were made to deceive
that is a really interesting part of the build-up to D-Day. In addition to getting all the troops together and getting all the supplies together, they were also mounting a fake invasion at a different point, because they wanted the German forces to think that they were headed for Pas-de-Calais instead of Normandy. So, there were, almost, they look like toys, these blow-up tanks, fake planes, fake intelligence, troops rerouted, to strange places, and it was just to confuse the enemy and further, increase the element of surprise.
So it gives new meaning to the term theater of war.
Yeah.
Sounds. And so the museum is expanding. You've started with, it's in Europe and then in the Pacific, and now you're adding new wings to the museum. What's the idea behind that?
Well, we originally opened as the D-Day Museum, and over time we started to get a lot of support and a lot of attention, and we received a congressional mandate to be the country's official World War II museum, which was a wonderful thing, but now we've got to live up to it. So we're expanding and we're building, and we're doing our best to tell the whole story of World War II. We'll have some new exhibit pavilions, the United States Freedom Pavilion, which focuses on the different service branches and a lot of the, the planes and the large machinery that would have been involved in World War II. The Liberation Pavilion, which will look at the Holocaust, the POW camps, the Campaigns Pavilion, which is really going to finally shed some light on a lot of these parts of the war that haven't gotten as much attention. The North Africa campaign, China, Burma, India, and a lot of these smaller battles that were just as significant, and even in some cases, some of the larger battles that haven't gotten a lot of attention.
Mm-hmm. Another thing, the museum is, it's an American museum. It's told from an American point of view, but there is a point in the permanent exhibit about the Pacific or Japan where you have propaganda, not only American propaganda about Japan, but Japanese propaganda about the United States. So it adds this kind of interesting perspective. How do you think the museum integrates other national perspectives and even while being an American museum?
We do tell the story from the American point of view, and that's important to remember, but there are some places where I think it's good to take a look at the other point of view, and one of those is our Race and War exhibit, where we show all of these propaganda posters that really built on stereotypes of the Japanese people, and really sort of looked at them as subhuman, which was not uncommon on either side, or in World War I or in other wars, to do that, essentially because if you have to kill somebody, you want to dehumanize them as much as possible. But what a lot of people have not seen and is interesting is those are juxtaposed against the propaganda posters that would have been common in Japan, and they look at Americans as excessive and also subhuman, and it's all the stuff that was going on over here is also going on over there. So I think it's important, as a museum, to, especially for images that are that strong, to really balance it out and show that this was a common practice throughout the war.